another episode of Sit With Me. I am your host, Tori Christina, where we explore all things of living healthy spiritually and mentally. Today, I have our guest with us is Dr. Karina Taylor. Hi. She was actually on another show and I have pulled her because I loved her conversation. So we are going to talk today. We are in season 2, you guys, and we are going to focus in on how our eating patterns affect how we live mentally and what it just does to our body. It's miraculous of how what you put in your mouth truly affects how your brain works. People would never know.
No.
So can you please give me just a little snippet of what is your point of view on eating healthy, I guess, nutrition? Just share a little bit of what I heard.
So for me, as far as my health journey, I haven't been clean eating my whole life. After I had our first daughter is when I made a point to be the healthiest version of myself.
Okay.
So she's 8 now. So 8 years ago till now, I've been making strides to become healthier and healthier. I tend to like the way I feel.
Yes.
More energy, more clarity. Every now and then I may slack off as far as clean eating goes, but I don't go on binges or long spurts.
Can you explain what clean eating is?
Yeah. So I'm pescatarian.
Okay.
So I don't do dairy. I don't do red meats at all, just strictly fish, fruits, vegetables, limit processed foods. So I guess you could say veganish.
Right.
So that's what I call clean eating. You can always be healthier.
Yeah. So
there's levels to being healthy.
It's definitely levels. Anybody who has followed me over the years, they know I love juicing. So I'm always juicing. And as that became a part of my diet, then I would cut out different things. So this year, December is going to be, I have been pescatarian, but I still have dairy.
Okay.
So next will be cutting out the dairy. And my ultimate goal is to be vegan, only because, like you said, I feel my best when I'm that way. It's just so hard to if you don't prepare.
Yeah.
Like, how are you living like this? When you don't prepare, what happens?
So when people think of healthy eating as a whole, you get overwhelmed.
Right.
So oftentimes I tell patients, I said, being healthy is kind of like a full course meal. But in order to digest the whole thing, you need to take bite-sized pieces.
Yes.
So we're going to break this up into bite-sized pieces to your road to wellness. So I always say, choose the foods that you like the most, that you like to prepare the most. Top 8 meals for dinner and put them in rotation as far as being healthy. Because when you go in the grocery store in the produce section, you're going to get overwhelmed with all the amount of greens, all the amount of reds, all the amount of berries. So if you just shift the focus to what your family top favorite foods are, and you can alter them and cater them to not white rice, maybe quinoa, or maybe mix the rice in the quinoa, kind of sneak it in. Like I have kids, I have 2 girls. I can't just serve them quinoa.
Right.
I mix it in with their rice. If I make the peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, I sprinkle flax seeds in the peanut butter. They don't know the difference, but you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So you have to introduce little small habits in order to get on that road to wellness. Being healthy, I think, is easy for me because I've been doing it so long. But, when like you for juicing, I think juicing is great in moderation. And it's good for cleansing the gut as a whole. People tend to feel very refreshed when they juice. Smoothies by far are amazing. So for anybody who's having trouble with like fruits or vegetables, I think a smoothie by far is going to be their quickest and easiest way to consume, their daily amount of fruits and vegetables that they're supposed to have.
Right. So like I had a friend, and I believe her issue was she might have been diabetic. I can't remember, or something was wrong with her kidney. But they told her don't eat any greens. Like,
Oh, I don't
I
know.
was just like,
That's foreign
just like,
to
oh,
me.
I don't know. Dr. K said it here.
Yeah.
I don't know about that one.
Well,
But I was
because
just like, I thought it was just so, I'm like,
there's a lot of people who may be diabetic that say, "Oh, I can't." They have to balance the amount of sugar that they intake,
mm-hmm,
but natural sugars that come from the fruits that
mm-hmm,
we eat tend to balance it. So if you're eating berries, antioxidants, which are really good for your health, I love blueberries.
mm-hmm,
You freeze them; they're an easy snack, kind of like popcorn. So the natural sugars that are in fruits or even in some vegetables aren't going to be as lethal, so to say, versus getting some processed type of healthy alternative
right.
that you can think of. And whole foods, when you're thinking of whole foods in its raw form,
Mm-hmm.
are always going to be better than a processed food.
Yeah.
There are a lot of vegans that eat processed vegan food,
Yes.
and it's still catering to chronic disease. So the more you can cater yourself toward whole foods in its raw form, fruits, vegetables, like how colorful is your plate?
Right.
If it's coming from a box, it's not that colorful.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah, I think of it like when, most churches every year go on the Daniel's fast. And so
I
you're
love it.
looking for stuff, anything that comes from the ground that you
Hmm.
can eat. So, but when you mention about vegans that eat a lot of
Oh
processed
my
vegan
gosh.
food, now that is a real thing because
It
it's
is.
such a craze, and everybody, I guess, like restaurants are trying to
Mhm.
cater to
Oh,
that
yeah.
group
Mhm.
or whatnot. But so it's still processed, right?
It's still processed. I mean, you have Burger King, and what is it, Beyond Burger? I can't tell you the last time I
Yes.
went to Burger King.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you.
Oh my gosh. I'm just like, no, no.
It is a thing because I went by there
Yeah.
and I was like, y'all got something here. But like if I feel like I want to eat like
Uh-huh.
bad,
Hmm.
I'll eat like a processed meat or
Yeah,
something like that.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
So
but
everything in moderation.
yeah.
What me and my husband consider bad, like on the weekend, our binges, we like vegan ice cream.
Mm,
There's still sugar in there.
right.
We don't eat it during the week, but on a Friday night after work, we're getting our scoop of
Vegan.
ice cream, and it's going to
Uh-huh.
be vegan, but it's still processed.
Right.
But we limit the amount of processed foods that we eat during the week. And I love the Daniel fast.
Mm-hmm.
If I need any form of mental clarity, and your body will let you know when it needs a cleanse.
Mm-hmm.
You won't be able to think straight. You'll have less energy. You'll feel a lot more bloated, maybe even constipated.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I either go to a cleanse or like the Daniel fast. And I love the Daniel fast by far because it's strictly whole food.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it.
And you can, like you said, like those favorite meals that you have, like even
Mhm.
if they included meat, you can fix those
Oh, yeah.
just in a vegetarian way.
You can.
Yeah.
You definitely can. I meal prepped on Sunday, and we had lentils, brown rice, sauteed kale. What else did I make with that? And plantains.
Mm,
You get your protein from the lentils. So it's a hearty meal. My girls loved it. You got to obviously got to season it right.
yeah.
And my husband too. So we made enough for the next 2 days, and you, it's more so planning and
It's
prepping,
planning and
because
prepping.
if you don't, you're gonna grab whatever's quick.
Yes.
So that's
And
by
then your
far.
body, like you're not in control, and I think that especially on this platform, what I like to speak about is that God has given our temple for us to manage it.
Oh my
And so
gosh.
we are the custodians of our bodies and we have to do what it
Hmm.
takes to manage it. And
Yeah.
when you don't, anything can happen.
Oh my gosh. And it also dictates how you respond when you get sick,
Okay.
on how well you take care of your body.
Right.
For example, I had COVID back when COVID was at its peak,
Hmm.
and I was like this close to going to the hospital.
Oh,
And I consider myself very healthy.
yeah.
I feel like I don't have any comorbidities or anything like that, but I felt like it was worse than childbirth. Like
Wow.
that I was in that much pain. And it
Yeah.
was more so pain than breathing or anything like
Hmm.
that. So the way that I take care of my body, I feel like for somebody that maybe be not in control of their health, they probably would have ended up going to the hospital.
Yeah.
And, we've lost family members to COVID,
Mhm.
but a lot of other people have comorbidities and things that their body can't recover as quick and as
Okay, Dr.
fast.
K, hold on.
Mm,
I don't know what a comorbidity is.
okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So, chronic diseases, whether it's heart disease, high cholesterol, diabetes, I'm sorry,
You're fine.
um, diabetes, things of that nature,
Mhm.
that a lot of people think tend to run in the family. But even with heart disease and high cholesterol specifically,
Mhm.
if you eat the right things, you can help balance those levels, even normalize them.
Okay, so you're saying you can reverse it?
So I am a firm believer with high cholesterol and heart disease.
Mhm.
My grandmother, I love her. To this day, my grandmother is 96 years old.
Wow.
Now, it's very hard to change a woman like that,
Right.
her trajectory on eating. But in terms of exercise, the challenges that me and Dr. Taylor do, my grandma tries to do those challenges.
Really?
My grandmother is very active. So that coupled with, we give her a supplement called OPC3, very
Okay.
powerful antioxidant. She controls how much salt intake she's had. She's come down on her blood pressure medication and her cholesterol levels.
Wow.
So, for me, I can't change the fact that she eats what she eats
Right.
on, she comes from a time where they eat whatever they want, and you
Mhm.
can't really change it. But when we introduce healthy habits to her and we're pouring into her certain things that she can change, it shows in lab results. So I am a firm believer that there is so much healing in
There
food
is.
that I'm just like, it's not difficult when you can find the right food for you.
Right.
There is so many fruits and vegetables. Like, I'll even be overwhelmed with, oh my God, what do I choose?
Mhm.
So you have to narrow it down and simplify it
Mhm.
for yourself. Like, what are your top 10 favorite fruits? What are
Right.
your top three vegetables? One being a dark leafy green, you know? So,
And then what do you say to people like that? Because you talked before we started recording about that
mm,
grace that we have to have for
oh
ourselves.
my
And when you're
gosh.
saying finding what is right for you, because I don't believe that there is a cookie cutter
Mm-mm.
recipe for every person when it comes
Oh.
to your mental health, your physical health. You have to really, I am big on self awareness right
Mm-hmm.
now because I think that's what wins. When you really understand who you are
Mm-hmm.
and what your body needs, what your
Yeah.
mind needs, what you
Mm-hmm.
need spiritually, and you run with that,
Mm-hmm.
that is the healthiest version of you.
It is. And I truly am a firm believer of being healthy from the inside out.
Yes.
Take, for example, when we talk to our patients, we're suggesting different exercises. For you, you may respond to Pilates. For me, I need yoga.
Hmm.
And that is a form of figuring out what works best for you in terms of physical activity. Because I believe everybody needs a form of physical activity.
Yes.
Your
See,
heart
that is
needs
the
that
part
exercise.
oh, Jesus. I am, you know what? Because
Uh,
that is so, I'm so shame.
no.
That is the grace, but
Mm-hmm.
still there are certain, I'm responsible for that. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So um I definitely am not a gym person. I have
Mm-hmm.
come to that
And
conclusion.
that's perfectly okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that aren't. I do yoga on YouTube. I look up a YouTube channel for yoga. You can choose from 10 minutes of yoga to 15 to 20 to however long that you desire. But even like when you're watching TV and you're watching a commercial, for those that don't record their shows, during
Yeah.
that commercial time, if you have a yoga mat, get on the floor and do a plank. Get on the floor, do some crunches until your show comes on.
Yeah.
You have to introduce some form of physical activity. And for people to say, I have no time, I'm not talking about going to the gym.
Right.
I'm talking about the time that we take to pick up this phone and we scroll for
How
an
many
hour.
hour?
And I'm like, you could have used that hour,
You're right.
So
Yeah.
I don't like to say I don't have time. I have to create. You have to create enough time in your schedule for what's important.
Right. And
So,
I use that too, and
mhm.
I've used that, I've used to lead an intercessory team, and when I taught people on prayer, I
Yeah,
would say, "You can't say, 'I don't have time.' You make the time."
you do.
You know, just like you make your time for prayer and meditation, you have to make that time for yourself as well.
You
But
do.
definitely having some form of exercise
You
is
do.
definitely important.
You do. And give yourself grace. We're all people. We all have high stress levels. We have
Yes.
low stress levels at some time. Don't overwhelm yourself with, I gotta eat right. I have to exercise. I have to get 8 hours of sleep. I have to drink this amount of water. I have to go to work. I have to
Is
be the
that too
perfect
much?
mom. I have to do this.
Like who?
Balance. So
See, that's when
everybody,
you go and check right on in. Just
yeah,
take me off.
you
I'm back,
right. You
doc.
have to create balance as a form. For me, I have a checklist. I
Hmm.
have to write things
Me
down
too.
and I put it in order of priority. There's a book that I absolutely love. I probably read it like 4 times called Eat That Frog.
Okay.
You put the toughest task first.
Hmm.
You don't put those simple tasks first so you could check off. When that first task is checked off,
Hmm.
you feel good about yourself.
Yes.
Everything is like, okay, that can kind of wait. I got
Hmm.
this done. So now I can fall into the rest of the day.
And that's even, I know we're talking about what we eat, but
Yeah,
that's even a healthy habit.
it
Like
is.
prioritizing your
Meal prep.
duties and then getting that checked off and
Mhm.
feeling that self like gratification, like I did that.
For example, my biggest frog, if we're talking about that book, is meal prepping.
Hmm.
I cook every day during the week except, and Dr. Taylor knows this, Friday and Saturday, I'm off. The kitchen is closed.
Find something.
Yes, find something. But I meal prepping because I have a little board on Pinterest that I
Okay.
say for healthy eating habits. And that's a good place where people can get different ideas or the top 8 recipes that they love and just kind of put it in rotation.
Hmm.
But meal prepping for me, because it's a large amount, it takes time. But
Yes.
once that is out of the way, for
You're good to
me, I'm
go.
just like, I could sit down, relax. We come home late sometimes from work. It's 8 o'clock. The kids still have a warm meal.
Hmm.
And all I have to do is take it out Tupperware, heat it up. They can eat, and I feel good. I feel accomplished. Bellies are full, and
Yeah.
everybody's happy.
Hmm.
Now, if I don't meal prep, which has happened, my stress level is high
Hi. Yeah.
because I end up getting mom guilt, which I need to give myself grace for
Hmm.
because I'm like, oh my God, what are they going to eat? I
Yeah.
feel horrible.
Hmm.
And, at times kids just want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for bed. That's not enough for me.
Uh,
But so that's where I say give yourself enough grace in order to get through your day and just kind of plan according to what your schedule looks like.
yeah.
So,
And when you're talking about like that brings down your stress level, like being prepared.
yes.
Just being prepared brings down stress levels. And so, guys, when we're talking about mental health,
Mhm.
you have to, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. I am going to do a lesson on change
Mhm.
because
So
I said
uncomfortable.
to oh my God, I said to myself the other day, like, it's just taking you too long to change. You know what I mean? Because there's some things
Mhm.
that, like you're saying, that you don't do that
Mhm.
add to your stress level and they're not bringing it down. So you need
Mhm.
to go ahead and take care of that.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
And some people, even for me, I get uncomfortable with change, but once you face it head on, it's not that bad. It alters your habits a little bit, but
Hmm.
once you break through that habit, you're better.
Right.
Any change should make you a better person
Right.
inside and out. And that's the way I tend to look at it with
But don't
eating
our
too.
bodies like naturally resist change?
Mhm. Our bodies, oh my gosh, I could go on a whole session of that.
Give
Um
us a little
it
bit.
it does. I mean,
Like it
from
gets difficult and
it
people
does.
don't understand that your body naturally does not want to change.
Because your body naturally gravitates to the habits that you do the most. So when you're trying to reverse that, even I can relate that to chiropractic. When we're talking about somebody who has forward head posture and their neck is here,
Hmm.
and we're transitioning, trying to bring the neck back this way, and I'm like, use your headrest when you're driving because it's gonna help,
Hmm.
right? You're going to be sore. You're going to feel your joints want to revert back here, but it's like wearing braces.
Hmm.
and you have to reset the body, reset your mind, even from eating habits. Dairy was the hardest transition for me.
Mm-hmm.
There are chemicals in milk and cheese, aside from pus, because I think we all know that cow pus is in
Yes.
dairy, right?
Right.
That is similar to heroin, that it's addicting to the brain. So the
And then they put
withdrawal,
sugar in it.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very, that was, for anybody who's struggling with breaking dairy, I found so many different alternatives, and I finally am dairy free, but it took a while.
Yeah.
So those, as far as eating habits, you have to find different alternatives that are very similar to
So you
try
kind of
and
wean
introduce.
yourself off.
Yeah,
And
you
it's
do.
so crazy that we're talking about food and we're talking about weaning ourselves off. Like it's drugs.
It is. It's addicting. And anything addictive is not
It's
good
not
for
good.
you. That's why you have to fast.
Yes.
And that's where the fasting comes in.
Anything that masters you, guys,
Yes.
you got to get it out of your system. Whatever it is, don't allow anything to master you. You are the master of your body. God has given you dominion. So we have to be
Very
sure
true.
that we keep that place.
That's why a lot of people don't like detox or cleanses. It's
Yeah.
like, as soon as you mention it, it's like, oh my God, your body tightens up.
Mhm.
Everything on the inside, you get uncomfortable here
Mhm.
because you have to force yourself.
Yeah. So even like you're saying, our body will naturally resist change. Our mind naturally resists change because we're trying to give it a new program.
You are, for the better.
Yeah.
So I know it's uncomfortable.
It is. Even talking about it, I'm like,
better.
man.
Like, I want to be better. I have to change mentally, physically, and
Yes.
spiritually for growth.
Right.
So I think it all intertwines.
It does.
And that all relates to mental, because if the mental is not there, everything else is not going to follow.
Yes, that's why the Bible says that you have to renew your mind. Like
Yes,
it's a really a renewing. What is this?
Renewed wellness.
Okay. Shameless plug.
This finish line represents so many things. It's not just spinal health. Like, we're talking about the inside out. You win your race on wellness at your own pace, whether you're sprinting, you're jogging, power walking, whatever it is.
Mhm.
That finish line is there for you to transition your body to be better. So,
Yes.
I'm
That's
all
great.
about the wellness.
Yes. I mean, that's what I want. I want us all to be better together. Like when you realize that you have a group of people that are really trying just like you,
Mhm.
and you're not in this by yourself. You want to be the best version of you. And there is nothing wrong with that.
Mhm.
And it is against the grain. It's not what the rest of the world is doing.
It is not.
You are not going to find a whole crowd of people that are really serious about
Yeah.
it. But little by little, if one person does it, it makes one step, somebody else can make another step and you can help somebody else.
But also it's your why. Like, what is your reason for doing it? For
Right.
me, I have 2 little queens that are looking up to me. They're going to do every single thing I do.
Mhm.
And if I can pour healthy habits into them at an early age, then they'll be more responsible enough to be and take ownership of their own body and care for it as they get older, and prevent either chronic diseases or um, gut health issues, which a lot of people suffer from when they have mental health
Yeah.
issues.
So how is that? And you know what I was going to say? Because it
Mhm.
also is going to be normal for them. So they won't
That's
have
their
that,
new
like
normal.
you're changing your whole bloodline.
You could break generational curses. When people are
Yes.
talking about soul food, I talked about that. Oh, I get so passionate because I'm
Wait
just
a
like,
minute.
it
Go
is
ahead.
not
I'm
food
listening.
for your soul. It's not. I mean, when
Mhm.
you think about it, we had no choice but to eat those things in the
Mhm.
past, whether it was chitlins, hog maws, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
I've never had it because
They
I don't like
still
the
make
smell.
pig feet.
Yeah,
I seen
they
a
do.
man in the store in Sam's.
I'm not eating nothing
And
that
he,
walk with
of course,
hooves.
he owned a corner store because he
Yeah.
looked like it.
Mhm.
But he had like the crate of pig feet. And I was like, people still eat pig feet? People still eat pig feet because they still selling it.
They do. And, it's the mindset. And when you educate those, even your loved ones around you in your knit circle, and they can
Mhm.
go and educate somebody else, that is not technically soul food, because it's not doing anything for your soul.
Yeah.
It's not. It's promoting more inflammatory diseases. If
Mhm.
you're already dealing with pain and you eat a lot of inflammatory foods, you're going to amplify that pain 10 times more. A lot of
Mhm.
people don't even realize that
What
food
is
plays a
your
role.
what's your inflammatory food list
Oh,
like?
fried foods,
Mhm.
processed foods, foods that are high in sugar, um, anything that's not whole, just about when you
Mm.
think about it, because there's all these type of chemicals that you can't read when you're looking at the back of a box. I feel so refreshed when I can flip a box over or a kid snack, and I'm like, oh, okay, this
Mhm.
is made of quinoa, this is made of rice flour. Like you can actually read what you're eating.
Mhm.
We're so accustomed to looking at the back of a box, and if for those of us that look at
Like
it and we see
what?
high fructose corn syrup and we're like, I guess I know what that is. I
It's
guess
in
that's a sweetener.
everything.
Right. And it's horrible.
Yeah.
So,
So is
it's,
sugar inflammatory as well?
yes,
Okay.
it is an
And
inflammatory.
they put it in everything.
It
Like
is. And that's
something
that
that doesn't
addiction.
even need to be sweet
Hmm.
is in there.
Yeah, it is.
That's so
Fruit
unfair.
juice.
I'm not going to talk about how unfair that is.
It is. Because
Yeah.
when you think about fruit juice, if it's fruit juice and it's natural fruit, it should already be sweet. But
Right.
we got to doctor it up just a little bit so it could be like a Hawaiian punch
Mhm.
so that people can drink it. And it's just kind of like, that's going to dehydrate your body. Like,
Yeah. When I
mm,
do the cleanse and fast, it
hmm,
takes a while for your palate to be able to really taste the food. We did
yeah.
like a 30-day raw vegan one time.
Okay.
It was really good.
Mhm.
But by the end of it, it's like a pepper was amazing. You could really taste the what am I trying to say? The flavor in the
You
natural
can.
food.
Your
Like,
palate was refined.
right.
Doc and I always joke about that when we go out to eat. We're probably the worst food critics because we taste everything.
Mhm.
And I'm like, I think our palate has been refined over the years because we can taste the difference between, okay, whether this mushroom came from a can versus whether it's fresh,
Mm.
So
Mhm.
it's different things like that that are so simple.
Mhm.
So that 30-day cleanse that you went on, by far, I think it refines our palate
Yeah.
100%.
So what are your thoughts? You mentioned
Hmm.
about cleansing the gut on
Hmm.
fasting. And like you said, some people are just cannot even wrap their mind around missing a meal, let alone a day or two. Um, what what would you what is a good fast?
I mean, you have the Daniel fast where you're giving up all processed foods,
Mhm.
which you're still consuming,
Yeah,
which is fine
right.
because I think your body goes through a detox even with that.
Mhm.
There are some that like intermittent fasting, which
Mhm.
I don't think is bad at all.
Mhm.
I do think that for extended, periods of time doing intermittent fasting may not be as good, but intermittent fasting gives the digestive system time to rest.
Yeah.
It's always working. It's
Mhm.
always processing something,
Mhm.
whether it's processing something real or artificial that it could actually break down.
Mm.
Like our stomach is on a time frame as far as like digestion. And if it doesn't get broken down within that cycle, it gets passed. So you can stress out your gut if you don't give it a break sometimes.
Mm.
And that's where I think fasting comes into place because that if your gut is stressed, you're not going to think straight. You can be constipated, bloated, and all of those mental fatigue issues
Mhm.
as well. So,
What about not sleeping well? Is that
oh,
tied to that?
I think not sleeping well, your body heals at night.
Okay.
Um,
Hmm.
and that's the only time it can actually go through a repair because the whole body is at rest.
Mhm.
Now, for those who have trouble sleeping because your mind is constantly moving,
Mhm.
your body being, I don't know how many realms of sleep that there is. I've heard people often
Yeah.
talk about it.
Mhm.
But when you can get an adequate night to sleep, 6 hours or more, your body's going through a healing process. You have to think about how busy we are during the day, whether we trip, we fall, you're sitting at work, your mind is going, your body's still moving, your muscles are still engaged, they're still supporting your spine when you're standing up, when you're
Mhm.
sitting down. So they're always firing.
Mhm.
So when you're finally sleeping, that's when your whole body from head to toe gets a chance to woosah, so to
Yeah.
speak, you know?
Hmm.
So,
I never really thought about it like
yeah.
that. Like when you're asleep, like everything shuts down.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except
That's
for
the least you can do to
like
your
when
body.
it's close to the morning, I'm a dreamer. So
Okay.
when it's close to the morning,
You're dreaming.
oh my gosh.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my goodness. Your
But
mind is
I
at
get
work.
plenty of rest. I have no problem in that department.
Oh, that's good. I mean, that's good. Your body's going through its natural healing repair.
Yeah.
So that is good.
All right, cool. So, what would you like to leave with our audience today as we're speaking about health and
Mhm.
how we eat
Mhm.
and how it relates to our mental health? What can you leave with our audience today?
I would like to leave to give yourself grace more than anything. With everything we talked about, give yourself grace. And because if you don't, you will be too hard on yourself, which is going to do nothing for your mental health. Break it down into bite-sized pieces. Um, find your top 8 recipes that you absolutely love. See how you can change that to being a little bit healthier. Um, and go from there and plan. If you don't plan, you fail.
Yeah.
But again, give yourself grace between those times because your body needs to rest mentally and physically. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Dr. K, for
Thank you
being
for
here on
having
today. This was
me.
a
I
great
love
conversation,
I love
y'all.
to talk about
Me
this. I
too.
do.
I am so excited about this season and the information that I'm going to be able to bring to you all.
Okay.
We're thanking Dr. K, Dr. Karina Taylor. Y'all get at her. Give her your social media handles. How can they follow
Yes,
you?
so you can follow us on Instagram on our Renewed Wellness Net. Mine is Dr. Kari, Drkari, pronounced Dr. Kari. I am Spanish, so
Oh,
I get a lot of Dr. Kari, but it's okay. And then my husband, Dr. Joseph Taylor, on Instagram. So yeah.
awesome. You guys go ahead and follow. She continues to give out great information on your health and lots of health benefits and just living life better, guys. Like
Yeah.
it's 2022. It's going to be 2023. We got to get better.
Yeah, you got and get better before the new year hits. You know, I don't know why
we're not
we
gonna
wait.
You know what? I didn't even think about that. Yeah. Every day is a new day for me.
is.
I really
It's true.
recharge every day.
Mhm.
So every day is a new day. So it doesn't matter what the date is.
Yeah,
Every day is a new day.
you are absolutely right. I agree with that. I do.
All right, you guys. So I'll see you next time on Sit With Me.
All right.